I'm live, I think about a minute early, which is okay. I try not to be late. I don't mind being a little bit early. And Burpee Reaper is here first. First, you might be the only one. You never know. It was a long one this afternoon. I might have worn everyone out. Reaper says, find out who you are and do it on purpose. Wise words. So, our friend Noble is live. I was just spending some time over there, entertaining, as always. No one does it better than Noble. He is a born YouTuber. The platform was made for him. And you know what? He deserves, he's at 7.37. I still have him up now. 7.37 subscribers, and they are well deserved. He puts in the time, he entertains people, he's insightful. Definitely one of my favorite channels to visit. Let's see. I'm just cruising about YouTube a bit. I got a few friends up, so they get watch hours. I have our friend Masha, Mayhem Miracles, who is there for everyone. So I want to make sure that I can repay the favor and do the same for her. As well, I've had our friend Ahmed up and running all day. Get a salute from the Burpee Reaper. Greatest compliment of all. Doesn't get any better than that. I have Tokyo. It's a gaming channel. I mentioned before, a few people, Tokyo, Smitty, Chill Gaming, Caleb Boo, and a few others as well. They really changed things, my view on those channels. I'll never be a gamer, mainly because I have a slightly addictive personality, as witnessed by tomorrow will be 900 days of burpees in a row. Generally, when I start doing something, I do it into the ground. I do it until there's no more doing it, until it's been done. That's why I don't want to do any gaming, because then I would be gaming all the time. You'd hear me on YouTube talking about my 900 days of gaming in a row. And that would, for me, because it wouldn't just be 900 days, I'd be like there all the time. Maybe. I'm sort of describing the old me, the drinking me, the more addictive me. I didn't fix any addictions, but miraculously, and it truly was a miracle, most of my addictions dropped away. But that behavioral drive still sometimes kicks in. These are lasting in yogic psychology. It's called samskaras. Samskaras are mental, emotional imprints that we develop through the mind by repetition throughout our lives, maybe in the womb, maybe from past lives. Depends on what you believe. It doesn't matter, because we know from neuroscience that these emotional pathways exist, and that's our default network mode. That when someone pushes our buttons, when we push our button, when our button is inadvertently pushed, say in a traffic jam, we have that default expression every time. It may vary, the words that we use and how we act it out, but we always act it out. Samskaras can be good, they can be bad. They're just patterns, repeating patterns, even self-replicating patterns, almost like fractals. And we love talking about fractals. And we get those, the whole yogic psychology is that we get those samskaras because of what yoga calls our afflictions. They're also called in Sanskrit kleshas. The kleshas are our attachment to certain things, our aversions to certain things, our false belief and identification as the ego, that voice in our head, and our fear of death, which is so deeply ingrained we don't even realize it. We could shrug it off. I'm not afraid of dying. Um, Yet that thought of death, that ever-present thought of death, drives us to do so many things. Um, and the last one is ignorance. And by ignorance, I don't mean, not intelligent. I mean that we are ignorant of all those things. So we act out our lives according to those 5 afflictions, and that creates the emotional patterns that drive our life. And we don't realize any of that. Our life is on automatic pilot. Let's see. Bumblebee T says, just listening, not a troll. I would never, ever imagine that my good friend Bumblebee T could be a troll. I'm happy to see you. Carl is here. Carl says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. Appreciate you dropping by. So, how do we fix that? It's a good question. I'm glad you asked. We don't. We don't. Because the ego can never fix the ego. The ego can never satisfy the ego. That's the rule of the ego. Ego is not bad. It's just a false identification. It's a navigational system that we are falsely identified with. So how it happens is we become aware of them. How we become aware? Maybe some weird bald guy sitting in his office with a cat looking at him starts talking about it, and you get interested, and you do some research, and you start practicing yoga. You start practicing Buddhism. You maybe pick up A Course in Miracles. Maybe you start to meditate and do some breath work. Breath work is wonderful for erasing those mental patterns that they have, because they give us a new neural pathway. Crispy, James the Third. Jack Crispy. That's a great channel name, my friend. What does a quarter until 4 mean? Like, why is it called that? Because a quarter is worth 25 cents. So why is it 15 minutes? Well, an hour is broken up into 4s, 4 15 minutes. So that's my best explanation. It's probably wrong, but I thought I'd put it out there. As I mentioned, I think I mention this every live stream, and I'm always happy to be wrong. So, quarter till shouldn't be, could also be 3/4 after. It's a mystery. Sandra says, I feel my soul has been in a lot of pain. Give me answers. Well, first off, I'm sorry. I'm sorry your soul is in a lot of pain. And I wish I had answers for you. I absolutely don't. I have no answers. But we explore a lot of things. And we could explore a lot of things together. Maybe we could point each other in the right direction. I've been where you've been before. And you know what? It still returns. I have, through my life, I've had depression, light, not as bad as so many that I know, so many who are bedridden with depression. But it's been an ever-present companion through my life. And truly, I started thinking of it as a companion. Something that's present, that I don't need to push away, I don't need to fight. It's here. I don't even have to like it, but I can love myself through it and not force it away, because that just adds to the depression. That means I want something other than what is occurring right here. And you know what? You can't have anything that's occurring right here until something else is occurring, until you've moved, until something changes. And who knows what that's going to be. So forbearance. Forbearance, compassion, kindness for yourself. That's where we start. And then we see what happens from there. Love yourself through every moment of pain. Love yourself through every moment of discomfort. That includes the emotional. That includes the heartbreaking. That includes wanting answers and not having any. It doesn't exclude anything at all. Squirrel Sniper says, greetings, Senju. Squirrel Sniper, my friend, how are you? Greetings, beautiful souls from across the pond under the same skies. Beautiful greeting, one of my favorite. It is a traditional squirrel sniper greeting. Every channel should be blessed with one. It sort of sets the tone. It also, just gives it the right vibratory quality. What can go wrong when you've been blessed by a great soul? Babushka says, Yogi, I was just doing workouts. You inspired me. Awesome. Man, I'm awful happy to hear that. What'd you do? You want to share? Huzzah, huzzah, says hi. Hello, my friend. Huzzah. Should I say huzzah, huzzah, or just huzzah? You may. Oh, I appreciate that. Bumblebee says, Yogi, in the 70s, my mom would say 25 to 3, which means 235. 25 to 3. Interesting. I had to think about that for a second. I wonder if I've ever said that before. Haza says, you Muslim. I am not, but I have absolute respect for the faith, especially in the Sufi tradition. And of course, not every... those mystical traditions aren't always embraced by everyone. Sanju says, I have chronic anxiety and get episodes of panic attacks. I went through that 2 years ago for about a year. And then I was diagnosed with a progressive lung disorder, which added to it. And then I discovered, after going to pulmonologists, getting a CAT scan, doing the I'm not going to be able to say it. I said it twice. I went to the well once too often. I got the test, the breathing, all that. And the doctor says, you have big lungs. You're an endurance athlete. You don't have a progressive lung disease. So that added, you know what I mean? Believing that I had that added to it. And this was during COVID, which added to it. And I was a caregiver for my father suffering from progressive heart failure, which added to it. I lost my business, which added to it. And you know what else? You don't need a reason to have chronic anxiety and panic attacks. They just happen. But for me, because I teach meditation, I teach breath work, I've practiced yoga for decades and decades. I've done a lot of deep spiritual work. I felt I had imposter syndrome. How can I teach this when I'm suffering? Until I had a great realization that no one is immune from anything at all. That a yogi can get panic attacks, and they were bad. And I had to be extremely quiet because my 93-year-old father, who I was a caregiver for, I didn't want to wake him. So I would pace the stairs very quietly all night long, and then hopefully maybe close my eyes for 15 minutes before I had to meditate and then help my dad. And the pattern just repeated. I changed my breath work around, and it worked wonders. It took a while, but it worked wonders. And I haven't had a panic attack since. I felt them coming on, but I've been able to use my breath to keep it nice and even. Can I always do that? I don't know. I'm going to find out. So I no longer have that imposter syndrome because I'm just a yogi. Not anything special. I get them. I get depressed. I don't get depressed. Depression happens. It's another important thing, is how we refer to it. Am I depressed, or is there just depression? Do I suffer from anxiety, or do I have anxiety? If I can change my eternal language, it creates a little bit of spaciousness that helps me navigate, or helps navigation happen. So Sanju, I'm sorry, but there are ways to feel better. Babushka said, I tried to do burpee and learned I can't do push-ups. You can do what's called 4-count burpees. Do everything that you did, but skip the push-up and start from there. Babushka says, so I did jumping jacks and sit-ups and planks. That's a good workout. If I remember tomorrow, I'll do a couple burpees without the push-ups for a demonstration. But hey, that's a great workout. So just remember, you can do a burpee without the push-up. Everything's the same. Jacob says, hey everyone, and salute. Salute to you, my friend. Speaking of burpees, we have one of the burpee champs in the house, Jacob. Jacob says, hey everyone, and salute. Let's hit the like button for our good host and friend, Mr. Yogi. Blessings to you, brother, and everyone. Blessings to you. Bessalina is here. Bessalina, how are you? Hey, speaking of going through something and sharing it and helping people, check out Bessalina's channel because she does that so well. Doesn't hide anything. And she's there to help. The entire channel is, this is what's happening. This is how I deal with it. Maybe it'll work for you. I hope it does. Definitely go visit Bessalina. Plus, she's got an awesome heart. Jacob says, thank you for your words. I'm blessed. And same to you, Bessalina. Babushka says, I will try that. Thank you so much. You're welcome. And you know what? You can do that with all the other stuff that you did as well. You can do 10 burpees without the push-up. And then you could do your last one. You could hold it in a plank. And then you could come up. And then you could do 10 squats. You could take a break. And then you could repeat that. The wonderful thing about doing stuff with your body weight, you can be infinitely creative. Check out Jacob's channel and watch what he does. Check out at the top of the page, the Burpee Reaper. Especially the beginning of the year, when he comes in purposely out of shape and starts getting in shape so everyone can join along. Squirrel Sniper says, greetings, Jacob. Jacob says, salute to you, Babushka. I don't know you, but I am proud of you. Awesome. That's how we do it, guys. Everyone pulls together. There's no levels. There's no hierarchy. There is just all of us doing burpees, all of us doing whatever it is. Ahmed is here again. Ahmed says, Yogi and all friends. And you know what? Ahmed is everyone's friend. Ahmed is one of those. Ahmed is like Goldie. He's like Destiny. I see him everywhere. He's also like Eric LaPointe. Everywhere. Asking for nothing. Just supporting. Bessalina says, thanks, Eric. You're welcome, my friend. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. It's brave. You know, and that's what we were talking about up above. So, thank you, Squirrel Sniper. Bumblebee says, link to Bessalina, please. I hope we can bring a couple of people over to subscribe. She's got an important message. These are the people I want to see. I want to see their channel blow up. I'd like to see Jacob's channel hit the big time. Bessalina. I think Ahmed is already there. Ahmed's got beautiful videos. Depends on what you want. Not everyone wants that YouTube success. I mentioned what I want is a quiet place where I can share the things that I like, and I'm not going to lie. I'm living on a fixed income, purposely so. I want just enough, no more. Pay my bills. I inherited a house. I'm blessed. My needs are small. I'm a very I don't want to say frugal. For some reason, frugal seems like a negative word. Um, I'm not even careful. I just have few needs, few desires. Um, for me, a big celebration is if I buy a book once a month, twice a month. Um, I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with that. So that's the extent. And if you know what, if I make someone happy, um, I consider myself a complete success. Sandra, my friend, thank you so much. It's very kind of you. Oh, Fred. Fred says, hello, remember me? I do remember you, Fred. How are you? And welcome back. Ahmed says, stay happy. Squirrel Summer says, it's very thoughtful, Sandra. It is very thoughtful and very much appreciated. Sandra says, are you around Berlin? I'm in the States. I am between Baltimore and D.C. in a beautiful town, probably a little bigger than a town. When I moved here as a kid, 1968, it was a town. It's a planned city, uh, planned with high ideals of racial integration, interfaith centers so that all different faiths could gather in one house, different times, but they would interact. Wonderful schools, um, green. It was a green city before there was such a thing as a green city. I grew up surrounded by trees and woods and creeks and ponds, um, but right in the middle of a suburban type atmosphere. Farms in the middle of the city. I had cows right across the street as a kid growing up. I didn't have cows. There were cows. So, Fred says, you remember me? I certainly do. How are you? Ahmed says, Sniper, today 400, friend. Fred said he's good. How are you? I'm doing good as well. It's my second little live stream. Um, it was pretty active, at least for a little while. Um, so, hey, if this one's smaller, a little more chill, that's pretty cool too. Sorry, I just got a note from someone that I'm looking at. So, hey, what do you guys want to talk about? Get a thumbs up. Some recent experiences. Earlier today, I talked about allowing the right book to come into your life. You really don't have to search for anything, which is a weird thing for me to say, as I spent a lot of time in my life being what's called a seeker, thinking that there were special spiritual answers that were going to make my life right, that I was no longer going to suffer from this or suffer from that. And then somewhere along the line, there was a shift of energy where I went from a seeker to an explorer, realizing that everything that I needed was right here. Every spiritual answer is right in front of me. That literally, or maybe more truthfully, there really aren't any answers. There's just diving deeper and deeper into mystery and coming to love that mystery itself. You don't need answers, um, because you are the answer. This is when Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within. So why is everyone looking towards a distant heaven? Why is everyone planning on going to heaven when they die? If the kingdom of heaven is within, then everything is there. If an entire kingdom of heaven is within you, then what do you need with anything else? So we open up to that. That's the whole thing of exploring the mystery. It's the whole point of meditation. We could say that prayer is talking to God, and meditation is listening to God. Sometimes the right book is right in front of us. As I mentioned before earlier, my first live stream, it was at 5 in the morning. Um, I bought a book, Wayne Dyer, who I enjoy, his interpretation of the Tao Te Ching, and I've been reading the Tao Te Ching for 40 some years, but for some reason I couldn't bring myself to read Wayne Dyer's book for 20 years, 20 plus years, until about 2 weeks ago. For some reason I just got this prompt, read this book, and I dug it out, and I'm amazed what I've been missing for 20 years. However, I wasn't ready for whatever reason. This is a book that isn't a translation of the Tao Te Ching, which I've read. It is an interpretation that gives you suggestions on how you open up to the Tao. And it's exactly what I need. At the same time, in the early 80s, I bought a copy of A Course in Miracles. It's a weird book. You don't have to believe it. It's supposed to be a channel text. It's supposed to be a channel text from Jesus, but you don't have to believe any of that. It's a deep psycho-spiritual workbook that helps you soften the ego and live a life of love. And it took me, I got it in the 80s. I tried to work with it. I couldn't, because I mentioned before, the ego doesn't want to snuff out the ego. It's a losing battle. Why would the ego want to eliminate itself? So I was coming at it from a ego perspective, and it's a losing game. But I kept coming back to it through the years. Finally, in 2008, my wife went to Iraq. My wife at the time, she was in the Air Force, and she was called up to serve, do a tour. And I was up with my stepdaughter, who was entering her first year in high school. Very hard time for anyone, but I think it's a harder time for a 14-year-old girl whose mother is overseas in a war zone. Sanju, thank you again, my friend. So much appreciated. Let me catch up with the comments. Sanju says, what will happen to our subconscious mind after we die? Your thoughts? We won't have a subconscious mind after we die. Just my thoughts. We won't have a mind after we die. We will simply be whatever we've always been. And I don't know what that is. Beingness itself, reality. Here's what we know scientifically, that every single particle, every atom, every element came into existence moments after the Big Bang, and it came from a singularity of existence, a singularity of energy. It contained the intent, the seed for the entire universe to be. Nothing was missing. Nothing was missing for the universe to come into existence. And there was some subtle voice that whispered to that singularity, expand, and it did. And we got a universe. If everything came into existence from absolute nothing, and an entire universe came into being, then where could we ever go? If we are literally made of the same stuff. And more so, the thing that keeps us embedded in a body, the thing that keeps us existing, is energy. And as we know from physics, energy can't be created nor destroyed. Now that's just a loosely scientific answer. Spiritually, we know that we're energy. Where would energy ever go? We're intelligence itself. Where could we ever go? We're not dependent upon the subconscious, nor are we dependent upon the conscious mind. We are consciousness, pure awareness, always existing. But that's just my thoughts. Monty's Mystery says, hello, remember me? I do, my friend. I appreciate you being here. Ahmed says, send you our subscriber waiting for you there. Squirrel Simper says, today I learned about Baron David Ward, affidavit. Affidavit, David, am I saying that right? And statement of fact, I am saying that right. You should look into it, Eric. It's worldwide. I'm going to put that in my little notebook. Thank you. And hey, if you have any information and you want to send it to me, we'd be happy to see it. Squirrel Sniffer says, greeting Monty. Kay's here. Kay says, hey Yogi in chat. Kay, how are you? Kay went for an awesome bike ride this morning. And I don't remember where the location was, Kay. Kay is working and listening. And hope everyone is doing well. I appreciate that. Everyone's saying hi. I'm not too far behind. I'm actually not behind at all. And Kay says, she's great. And you? Eric Point says, sorry, Bessalina. I was trying to go to your page to see what's new, and I meant to delete that message. Kay was in Spain this morning. I would love to get a Peloton or a Concept 2 rower. And if Mocha McCarty was here, she would say, Eric McCarty has been talking about a Concept 2 rower since I met her, 23 years, and she's absolutely right. But before I didn't really need one because I would go to gyms. Now I don't really go to gyms. Ahmed says, Eric did a great job. Thank you. Or actually, the other Eric. He did a great job. He did do a great job. If you guys don't know, Eric Lapointe did 150. Hey, is Babushka still here? Eric Lapointe did 150. And this is still week 1, really. Maybe starting week 2 of his burpee journey. 150 Navy SEALs. A Navy SEAL is a burpee that has 3 push-ups per rep. Hey, how are you feeling, Eric? Squirrel Semper says, PDF is on its way now. Awesome. Squirrel Sniper is the man that keeps me in the know. Let's see. Eric White says he feels good, actually. Awesome. That's a good sign. Of course, you know, you're a very physical person. You work hard on a daily basis. So that's going to pay big in your favor. Let's see. So, yeah, books. I never made it all the way through. For some reason, with my wife being away and taking care of my stepdaughter, I was also a caregiver with my father for my mother, who was suffering from Alzheimer's. And my father himself had had a stroke. So it seemed like the right time to dive in A Course in Miracles. And I devoted myself to 365 lessons, 1 for each day. You never do more than 1 lesson a day. And I felt like I got it what I needed, that all that time led me to that. But after that, the energy of pursuing A Course in Miracles as my soul path wasn't there. I loved the teachings. I worked with them, but it just wasn't. I was meant to be a yogi. Always have been, always will be. But in the past week or so, the lessons from A Course started playing out through my life more and more. And I decided to pick it up. And I'm not going to say that I'm going to do the entire workbook again, but I'm going to see how long. I'm going to see how long I ride with it, how long it wants me to ride with it, and what's going to come after. And it's been extremely helpful for me, just in a short period of time, because it, Course in Miracles is actually called Western Vedanta or Western Buddhism, because it is it's a path of non-duality, extremely similar to Buddhism, as well as yoga. So it blends in perfectly. I've talked about the 5 yamas, which are the ethical restraints that you practice as the foundation of yoga. And here are the 10 characteristics of a teacher, God's teacher. What they say in A Course in Miracles is that we teach what we need to learn. So there's no distinction made between a teacher and a student. We are one and the same. What a beautiful way of looking at it. I teach what I most need to learn, which is why I'm here, why I'm talking about. This is the stuff that I'm talking about that I need to learn on a daily basis, over and over and over and over again. I've mentioned before, if you think you're awakened, if you think that you're enlightened, go spend a day with a family member that irritates you. If you think your buttons have been eliminated, spend some time with people who know you really well. They remember those buttons. I've said on here to trolls, hey, my buttons are gone. Largely, a lot of them are, but they can still surface from time to time. And that's a good thing, because then I get to see them. I mentioned before about the 5 afflictions talked about in yoga. How do we get rid of them? We don't. We become aware of them. And through the lens of awareness, everything changes completely on its own. Of course, we can take some action. We can do breath work, and we can do yoga, easy physical postures, and we can meditate, and all that helps. But what it does is it broadens and deepens our awareness so that we see those patterns occurring. And we begin to see them from a mile away, and we start to smile. There's that anger rising up. There's that irritation rising up. When we see it rising up, we no longer have to react to it. We can respond. And my favorite line is, I love the word responsibility, or ability to respond. The entire path of yoga, the entire path of Buddhism, the entire path of A Course in Miracles all teaches you how to be responsive versus being reactive. Reactive is from the ego. Ego's not bad. It's not who we are, though. Versus being responsive from the spirit, which is who we are. Which is why in the Course in Miracles they say we have 2 voices at all time in our head. The voice of the ego, which is always wrong, because it's always saying I, me, mine. It's a song from the Beatles, from George Harrison, on Let It Be, and it's exactly what he meant. All through the day, all through the night, I, me, mine, I be mine, I be mine. That's what the ego says. It wants to identify with all the good stuff and disidentify with all the bad stuff. And it wants you to identify with all the good stuff that he likes or she likes. And if you don't, well, then you've made an enemy. And it's all just mind stuff. And it goes on forever and ever and ever until we die. And if you believe yogic and Buddhist wisdom, you come back and you do it over again. Unless you get that glimpse of awakening and you start to sand out those buttons that we have. Speaking of buttons, Duncan Walsh, Fitness Motivation, knows how to hit my motivation buttons. And he puts out those routines that get me suffering instantly. And Duncan's here. Squirrel Sniper says, one that is fully informed is not easily deceived. Oracle of Coombe, 85 AD. Very true, Squirrel Sniper. Squirrel Sniper drops wisdom throughout the conversation. So if you guys are like streaming through and you see something from Squirrel Sniper, make sure you stop for just a moment to appreciate what's offered. Eric says, hey, Duncan. Duncan says, you know it, Eric? Duncan, I saw your comments on Eric LaPointe's video, but if you want to add some details here, I'm sure Eric would appreciate it. And hey, anyone in the burpee world who happens by would definitely love hearing anything you have to say. Ahmed says, Eric, you don't comment new video, friend? I'm almost 100% sure, I'm beyond 100% sure, that as soon as the conversation's over, oh, Eric said he will right now. Awesome. Ahmed says, Eric, comment on my new live. He's on his way there. So, Duncan, how are you? I'm taking my little herbal supplement a little bit early. Scroll Sniper says, unfortunately today, our information is given to us by the media. This is true. In Greek mythology, Medea and Jason, she had the power of emotion to make people do things they would not normally do. Duncan says, are you rescheduling your intervals at the moment? I am. I want to keep them in. I'm actually reducing my volume in burpees for now. I'm going to have maybe one day with bigger volume because I wanted to add in a little bit of weights. It's been a while since I've done any weights. And I want to maybe reconstitute a little bit of muscle. As much as you can put on a calorie restricted diet, fully vegan, not a ton of protein, some protein, but not a ton, and not using heavy weights and doing a butt ton of reps. So we'll see what happens. I'm sort of taking a page from our friend, the Burpee Slayer. So, hey, any suggestions, of course, are appreciated. Let's see. Ahmed says, I want today, Eric friend is 150, Yogi, sir. Is he 150 now? Let's go check this out. I should actually have my, live stream up on my desktop in case something happens to my phone, which it does. For some reason, mostly in the afternoon. So we're going to head over to Eric LaPointe's page real quick. Sorry, my cat's being at me. Hey, speaking of cats, Duncan, how are your cats doing? So now the trouble starts. Have you considered? Ahmed says, now I start to share burpees. That's awesome. Let's go to Ahmed's page. Which channel are you going to share your burpees with? Eric LaPointe is at 136 subscribers. He should hit 150 really soon. Duncan says, have I considered 100 burpees for time before or after the weights? I have considered that, and I've done a couple 100 rep sessions. Not only one for a little bit of time. The other ones I've sort of just taken my time. I'm not doing a ton of weights. One body part a day, one exercise per body part, at least for now, 2 to 3 sets. Like I did 3 pull-ups today, or 3 sets of pull-ups. 101 pumps. So tomorrow is dip day, and I'm going to do 1 high rep set of dips. Rest, I'm going to follow it with a set of weighted dips, and then I was going to do 50 Navy SEALs. That's the plan for now. You know what else I was thinking about? Soon I'll reintroduce the 2-minute burst for my intervals. And I was thinking about doing, in that 2 minutes, The first minute nasal breathing, my very last minute switching to mouth breathing to see if it made a difference. I don't know if I do that all the time, but I was just wondering the difference that it might make. Eric Point says, Duncan, I'm going for 100 burpees tomorrow. Awesome. I'm not sure what kind yet. Well, my suggestion, if you don't mind a suggestion, definitely recover from the Navy SEALs. So I would stick with the in the lines of the one pumps. Have you ever done an 8-count bodybuilder? 8-count bodybuilders were one of my favorites. I haven't done them for some time, mainly because I like doing them officially with the count, and I can't count because I do nasal breathing reps. But I should add it back in without the actual count. Duncan says, I presume 100 push-ups in the form of burpees is the minimum. Thereabouts. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep a minimum. Only has to be burpees. As I mentioned before, tomorrow is day 109. Tomorrow is day 900 of burpees in a row. I'm still the low man on the totem pole. We got Burpee King, followed by Unk. I don't know if there's anyone between me and Unk or not. Doesn't matter. We do what we do. Horror of Spice, Vincent is here. Hey, everyone. Vincent, I believe, is going live Saturday, I think you said. Duncan says, look forward to that, Eric LP. Man, he's doing awesome. Vesselina says, I have to start at the beginning with breath. What do you mean, Vesselina? As far as like doing breath work or breathing as you exercise? Best way to start is noticing where you're breathing from. Are you breathing from the nose? The nose is for breathing, the mouth is for eating, or extreme exercise. You're going to be healthier if you're predominantly a nasal breather. Are you breathing from the belly, from the diaphragm? Is it rising? Is it falling? Are you breathing too much from the chest? All these little things. And then notice how your breath changes with the mood. If you're a little emotionally distraught over something, your breath is going to change. And when you're aware of that, you can make a change to the breath again to change your mood instantly within a 10 breath period of time. Eric Point says, hey there, Horror of Spice. Duncan says, did you see Burpee Unk and Lewis with their 1K seals? I did see it. Then I was checking out Thomas Fahey, as well as Lewis and Eric LaPointe hitting 150 Navy SEALs. Horror of Spice says, yes, live Saturday. I hope you guys check out Horror of Spice. Fun channel, fun live stream. Him and Mrs. Horror of Spice. How are you feeling, Vincent? Eric Point says, yes, it was nuts. I saw you too, Duncan. Vesselina says, breathwork. Hey, I'm happy to help. Vesselina says, used to nose breathe. Some people find it helpful to tape their mouth shut, and you can get, it should be like medical grade tape, little past stamp size, and you put it right there. It's not to seal the lips, it's just a reminder to keep breathing from the nose, and they put it on at night. You might not need it. I think it's just important to get in touch with your breath and starting from there, and then doing easy breathing from the diaphragm, hand on your chest, hand on your belly. You should feel your belly move. It should rise and it should fall. You should have your hand on your chest, and it should move minimally, if at all. If it does, you don't worry about it, because it's just it draws our attention to what we need to do or what's better for us to do. So that becomes a meditation. You just notice the breath, rising, falling. If you're breathing from the nose, it's going to be a very gentle rise of the belly, fall of the belly. If you're breathing through the mouth, I'm up, I'm shocked, I'm open. From breathing from the nose, everything's gentle, everything's easy, everything's calm. Which is why when we're surprised, we get that sudden intake of air through the mouth. Everything's tense. We're in that fight or flight mode. Not bad. Sometimes we need to be in the fight or flight mode. But if we look around and we see, I don't need to be in it, then right to the nose, easy breaths. Hand on the chest, hand on the belly. Once you get the practice, you can drop the hands. How I was taught to be a teacher, how I was taught to teach, is specific breath work for specific things 3 times a day and therapeutically as needed. And I'm definitely willing to help with that. And if you look on my channel, there's a link, a playlist, breath work, where I actually used it when I was getting certified to be a breath coach as a teaching means. And I talk about the 3 categories of breathing and different breaths. I absolutely love talking about breath work. You could rightly say I absolutely love talking, which is why I'm here doing this. Duncan says, we love Burpee Unk, but I think Unk's technique is much more efficient. His range of motion on the push-ups is less than Lewis's. Was obvious watching them side by side. Interesting. Brian Lane is here. Hello, Eric and chat. Brian, I always think, for me, Lewis, end all be all of reps. It's just grace personified. Best reps in the game. It's a thing of beauty. Vestalina says, is it better to breathe from the mouth? It's always better to breathe through the nose. Brian Lane says, nose breathing is best. Absolutely. Brian is someone that is doing extensive breath work. Brian says, why I like practicing nasal breathing. It's healthier to breathe from the nose. The nose acts as a natural filter. All kinds of dust and particles and bacteria is filtered by the nose. When we breathe through the mouth, we're sucking it right in, down into the lungs immediately. No filter. As well, the nose helps everything stay moisturized. So it relieves if you have like a chronic dry throat or any throat issues. It helps with that quite a bit. As well, it's the, it just has this deep calming, it puts us into that parasympathetic nervous state gently and easily. When you breathe through the mouth, you're predominantly slightly in that stress zone of sympathetic, that fight or flight, which again is why when we're challenged, when we're surprised, when we're upset, we take these big gasping breaths through our mouth. There are times in specific practices you might want to breathe through your mouth. I demonstrated one a few days ago, a cooling breath. If you're going to bed and it's hot and you're having a hard time cooling down, there's a specific breath. It's called Shithra in pranayama in Sanskrit, where you curl the tongue. I don't know if I can actually do it. I do the breath. I never knew if I could curl my tongue or not. So I'm going to do it in front of the camera, and we'll find out. And I can. Happy for me. It looks weird. But you breathe in through the mouth, exhale through your nose. Don't worry about how long. Just breathe in, exhale through the nose. No actual count. And it literally cools the body down. It lowers the heart rate. It's great for after you work out, and it's great before bed as well, or if you're hot before bed. Duncan says, do you monitor your heart rate at all? You seem to monitor breathing a lot, but it's just as significant as the heart rate. Well, if I can manage my breath, I can manage my heart rate. Directly related. That, especially in my recovery, that if I breathe a certain way, I can bring my heart rate down almost immediately. I used to, up until, I guess a month or so ago, I would always do it when I woke up. I would check my heart rate because it was a good indicator if I was overtraining, if I needed to back off just a bit. If my resting heart rate was higher, I would have a little bit of an easier day. I would also check my blood pressure because I got in the habit of doing that for my father twice a day. And I would do it with him. And then we would, it was just a thing that we had. As I was talking, as we were having a conversation, I would do him and then I would do myself. And it became a ritual, and I kept it up as that connection until I ran out of batteries. And I had a choice, keeping that ritual going or going to the store. And I did not want to go to the store. Let's see. Eric Point says the nose has sensors to get the oxygen to the spot in your body needs, I've heard. Yogi is the expert. I wouldn't say that it has a sensor that gets it to specific parts, but it gets it to the parts that need it, if that makes sense. Bestlana says, okay, thanks, Eric. You're welcome. And hey, feel free. Ask any questions, or if you want, anytime, if you want to do a Facebook Live, and I'll guide you through the whole breath thing. I'll give you a morning breath to wake up. I think Brian knows what that one is. I'll give you an afternoon, and then I'll give you an evening before bed. And then explain, why you're doing them at these times of day and how you can incorporate them therapeutically. If you have a meeting, if you're stressed out, if you're just having a hard day and you need a little bit of energy or you need to calm down a little bit, just a specific breath that you can have in your toolbox to breathe out, to bring out. Bestlana says, awesome. Thanks, Yogi. You're welcome. Let's see. Duncan says, talking about breathing, you will likely have heard of a guy called Roy Castle, British guy in the UK in the 70s and 80s. It doesn't ring a bell. Ahmed says, Eric, now 1:45. Is he? Let's check this out. I got Eric Lapointe up. I'm waiting for his page 2. He is. Eric Lapointe. Did you hear that? 145 subscribers. The burpee legend grows. Word must have gotten out. There's a new kid in town. He's calling the shots. He's taking no prisoners. He's got his own style of burpees. He made up his own burpee, and people are flocking in. Dub Clips, how are you, my friend? Duncan says, Roy used to host a TV program called The Record Breakers. People were invited on who had world records and all sorts of things. Tallest man, most spinning plates, balanced on sticks, all sorts. I have a running friend who was in the Guinness Book of World Record for fastest marathon in a pair of flip-flops. And his feet were a mess afterwards. can't think it was worth it. But for him, it was. Eric Point says, Raul Miramed, thanks so much for that. Indeed. It's an awesome thing to do for a friend. Roy actually held the world record himself for speed tap dancing and broke it on the program. He's also a very accomplished trumpet player. Wow. Who would think such a thing? Speed tap dancing. Ahmed says, welcome my friend Eric. Again, Ahmed, that was a very kind thing to do. An amazing thing to do. Duncan says he used to play the trumpet on stage while tap dancing in pubs and clubs before his TV fame. Man, when I think trumpet, I think Dizzy Gillespie and the Cheeks. There's awesome cheeks of Dizzy. Ahmed says, Eric is coming soon, 1K. I believe it. Vesselina says, no prisoners. Absolutely not. Let's see, Nat Watcher says, Yogi, can I recommend a channel? You should go to, his name is, having a hard time seeing that. Let me get back on my desktop. A little bit easier. Hey, anyway, you can drop a link. If you drop a link tonight, I'll go there and subscribe right away. I'll see if I can find it. But again, if you drop a link, definitely, I appreciate it. Brian says, hey, Duncan, did you ever do any handstand push-ups? Never thought about asking you before. Duncan says, clubs back then were very smoky. Everyone smoking. Roy was playing the trumpet and sucking in it all in between tap dancing. That's not good. Ahmed says, Eric, I give my full support on YouTube, bro. He certainly does. Ahmed is the friend that you want in your corner. Ahmed says, Yogi, teach us only brotherhood. That's the plan. That's what I try to do. And again, as I mentioned, you know, Course in Miracles says that we are teachers and students at once. We teach what we need to learn. And then you have the ego will speak up and say, I don't need to learn that. The ego also diminishes. We forget about that. The ego will always say something along the lines of, I don't need to learn, or I'm not a teacher. All claims that are false. Brian says, saw your video just now, and Eric, congratulations on 150 Navy SEALs. Awesome work. Shot caller is just around the corner. Eric LaPointe, just putting that out there. Duncan says, unknowing to the public the dangers of passive smoking. He famously and tragically years later died of lung cancer. He never smoked at all himself. That's worrisome, Duncan, and you know exactly why it's worrisome. Eric LaPointe says, yes, the cheeks. When I play trumpet, they always said, don't do that. And we were like, but one of the greats does it. Yeah, one of the greats for sure. Love Dizzy Gillespie. Hey, and it works. You can't argue. It worked for him. He ended up with teeth trouble, I believe. Night Watcher says, please don't mention that I sent you. Okay. You sure you don't want credit? You're doing a good thing recommending the channel. But hey, I won't. Hey, that was your channel that came up. It didn't work, Night Watcher. Noodle says, I got to quit with the Noodle. Funnily enough, he is also an Eric, but with a K. Then he doesn't count. There's no K's here. No K's belong in Eric. I think my friend Eric Lapointe will back me up on that. Those famous trumpet players all suffer in those smoky pubs and clubs. Yeah, they did. And like I said, I do believe Dizzy Gillespie had some kind of teeth issues that curtailed his playing in later years, sadly. Brian says, how about you, Eric? Have you ever done any handstand push-ups before one if anyone else? I have done some handstand push-ups. Mainly, I've done handstand static holds against the wall. And by the way, great form on your handstand push-ups, Brian. For a little while, I did Paul Wade's convict conditioning, and he recommended handstand push-ups. Eric says, tragic Duncan. That's too bad. It is too bad. Duncan says he has done handstand push-ups many years ago. It didn't work, Night Watcher. Sorry, I'm looking something up. So, you know what? As impressive as Eric Lapointe, 150 Navy SEALs is, and as much as I enjoyed watching the video, and I hope I don't hurt his feelings, nothing is ever going to top the Cal video for me. The Cal videos. I fully expect, and it won't be too long, that Eric Lapointe is going to do a shot caller routine. Probably with Lewis and maybe Thomas, maybe with Brian Lane, maybe Jacob. Maybe me. I don't know. It's been a while since I've done one. But it'll never top the Cals. Eric Lapointe says, something that helped me be a good runner was the fact that I played trumpet and would swim a lot. I could see especially the swimming. Dubbed it down as far as I could. At one time, I could hold my breath underwater for 248 seconds. Wow. Impressive. Those divers, the ones doing the extreme diving, absolutely amazing. Dangerous sport. It only takes one moment of blacking out, and it's so easy to black out when you're holding your breath. This is why they don't recommend doing Wim Hof in water, although Wim Hof himself doesn't step up and say it. And there's been a few people who have actually died from the practice. Eric Point says he almost made a Cal video today. Hey, please don't tell me that you did burpees instead of doing a Cal video. Man, if that's the case, I feel like I've been misguided in my encouragement of burpees, that I've stood in the way. I've stood in the way between the world getting the Cal video that it needs. We might just be one Cal video away from world peace. Bessalina says, Eric, I have to get going. Catch up at work. See you later. Stay blessed, everyone. Take care of Bessalina, and as I said, feel free to reach out, and we'll connect, and we'll do some breath work. Yes, indeed. What if we are one cow video away from world peace? All right, let's give this like another try. And I'm there. And don't mention your name. Got it. So which name, Night Watcher? You have about 227. Brian, for a while I was doing pike push-ups on my parallel bars, which is basically handstand push-ups. Vessalina says, okay, awesome. But you get to go a little bit deeper, but you also, you're not in that full handstand position. You're in that pike position. Lyric Point says, correct. One time I was trying to get back to the surface and was running out of air. I got to the top and my body wouldn't let me take a breath in, and I almost passed out above the surface. It was nuts. Yeah, it's dangerous. Doing any kind of upregulating breath work where you are entering that hyper or hypoventilation is dangerous. Not just towards water. You can pass out and you can hit your head. Night Watcher says, they know me as Night Watcher, so don't say anything about a certain guy who watches at 4 a.m. Not sleeping. Okay. You got it. Looks like an interesting channel. So yeah, I put out the duckling video today. I was honestly afraid that we weren't going to get any ducklings. We had the gooselings that started in May, and they're finally big enough now that I'm not being constantly hissed at whenever I take my walks and my runs. They've calmed down in their aggression. And now the first time today, we saw the ducklings. Absolutely awesome. I have a enormous affection for ducks. They just seem like very vulnerable creatures, unlike geese. Geese will mess you up. You do not want to mess around with a goose. But ducks are definitely more vulnerable. We have hawks and owls and foxes and coyotes. And I always worry about my ducks. However, one thing I didn't know is ducks. The first study of predatory sleeping were discovered by ducks, mallards actually, where a mallard will literally sleep with one eye open, fully aware, present to any sense of danger, while the other eye is shut and the other half of the brain is sleeping. Don't try that at home, guys. Noodle wants to know, Night Watcher wants to know, do you watch movies? And if you do, what's your favorite? It's been a while since I've watched a movie. Favorite. It changes quite a bit. It's the same as when I'm asked about what books I like. I could always watch Rocky over and over again. I don't know if I could keep watching any of the other Rocky movies. You know what? The last Rocky movie wasn't too bad. I haven't watched any of the Creed movies though. Um, different movies for different occasions, I think. Some movies you can watch anytime and any place. One of which, Kingpin. Doesn't matter where it is. Kingpin might be the best Amish bowling movie ever made. I dare anyone to mention another that's better. However, it's not the best bowling movie ever made, surprisingly, because the best bowling movie, and this might be my all-time favorite movie, is The Big Lebowski. I don't think a movie gets better than The Big Lebowski. I have a fondness for the movie Harvey because it re-enchanted me with the world. So I need to flip back over to Eric's channel because I want to be there for the big moment. This is a big 150 day for Eric Lapointe. 150 subscribers, 150 Navy SEALs. This calls for a celebration. Once again, everyone in the burpee community knows the highest praise, the highest honor that you can give another burpee practitioner is a salute. Salute to Eric Lapointe. Liliana says, "Do you remember me?" I certainly do, my friend. I will never forget the name Liliana. Do you like it pronounced Liliana or Liliana? Both are pretty. Liliana has a very nice tilt to it. Eric Lapointe says, "It's amazing." Matt says, "I am sorry, I just support the Eric." That's quite all right, my friend. Eric Lapointe deserves it. Eric says hi to Liliana. The Reaper is here. We were just talking about you. So I'm subscribed to your friend, Night Watcher, and I have it on full notification. Noodle says, "Yogi, what were you doing in the 70s? It was in the 70s. I was born in 1965, so I remember much of the 70s. It was my coming of age that I got out of middle school in 79, started high school 79-80. 70s were a good decade for me. I think I might have peaked in 1978, and it's been downhill ever since. Maybe 79. The 80s were a decade of following the Grateful Dead, a lot of working out, and then a lot of long distance backpacking, camping, some rock climbing, canoeing, whitewater rafting. I did some spelunking. Really, it's called caving. I never met an actual caver who called it spelunking. Did a 21-day outward bound program. I also did a lot of hallucinogenics. Probably unsurprising to many people here. Ahmed says, "Yogi, you ask me daily, one friend. I support him." That's absolutely awesome. Eric Point says, "You were born the same year as my mother." Man, now I feel old. "1965. That was a good year. Things were just peaking for the hippies. Truth be told, I am more of a beat generation, more of the Jack Kerouac. Allen Ginsberg, Neil Cassidy. I'm a Dharma bum at heart. I am Jamaican is here. Hello, my friend. How are you? Welcome back. Ahmed says, at daily basis, give 20 friends. So that is good to know for the people who want to grow their channel, Ahmed. Ivan's here. Ivan says, how are you? I'm good, my friend. How are you? Happy to see you. It's been a few days, or maybe a week or two. I'm just checking around here. I see our friend Noble is still live. I'm not sure if anyone else is live, but we're going to check in. Ivan says he's going good. Thank you. We've been talking a lot about training. I was talking a bit about yogic psychology at the top of the conversation. I talked a bit about the book Course in Miracles and some other things. Always cover the basics. Reaper says hi to Ivan. We're probably going to talk about, I don't know, 10 more minutes. I'm going to call it an early night. The afternoon session was pretty big. Man, and did I fall really behind. Probably the more behind I've ever fallen before. Ahmed says, Ivan says, good book. It is a good book. I don't agree with all of it, but I love the fact that it lays out an outline, 365 days, where you are consistently diminishing the ego from the very beginning. And it's challenging. It's supposed to be challenging. Even from the first one, the very first lesson is you look around the room, wherever you are, and you say at whatever your eyes fall on, without discriminating against anything, that nothing I see has any meaning. Nothing. So I could look at the book, A Course in Miracles, and say this book has no meaning. I could look at my hand and say this hand has no meaning. It's a hard thing for us to accept because we want to believe that we live in a meaningful world. But on the second day, they add to it that everything I look at has the meaning that I give it. Now things are starting to click a little bit on the second day. That things don't have meaning in and of itself until I provide the meaning. Therefore, all this stuff that has been keeping me angry, all this stuff that is keeping me sad, all this stuff that has done anything to me whatsoever, I've given it the meaning that it has, which means there's hope for change. Noodle says, bye. Man, I got to stop with the noodle. Oh, have I checked Lone Champa? I have not yet. I need to. I have it written down, and I will. Ahmed says, but some people support unconditionally, my friend. And you certainly do. And I hope I return the favor to you, my friend. I've had you up and running. I do it as much for my sake as I do it for yours, because I love diving into your channel. I love the birds. I love the rain sounds. Noodle's got to sleep. Awesome. And there I said noodle again. Ivan says, I do the course and there's results. There is. This will be my, I mentioned earlier, it took me 20 years to finish the course because the ego does not want to be even slightly diminished. So I would work and then I'd make excuses and I'd put it aside. I'm not ready for it. I'll get back to it. This book is calling towards me. Whatever. All of excuses. And then in 2008 is when I finally said, it's time. I can't say I said it. Let's say that something within me intuitively said, now is the time, and that I needed it. And I did. But I also at the time felt, as much as I got out of it, that it wasn't my ultimate path for right now. So I continued with some other studies, fortunately, because then when I circle back to A Course in Miracles, as well as circling back to a deep dive into the Tao Te Ching, I feel like things are falling away in a way they haven't before. That I'm fully living the Tao. I'm fully living the Course in a way before where I was studying the Tao. I was studying the Course. And now it just feels different. Let's see here. Quite says, Domed, that's you, my friend. Always kind. I agree. 100%. And we get a nice emoji from our friend I Am Jamaican. I Am Jamaican, how are you? Ivan says, there's meaning of life. Most people are looking for meaning where you can't find the meaning because mind is not allowed to get there. Exactly. And A Course in Miracles circumnavigates the mind. It takes you to that heart center. But I think you need to, this is why the book is embraced by so many people in AA, because they've been broken open. And they're looking for a way that is not, it was Squirrel Sniper who mentioned yesterday or the day before, you can't be free of an addiction if you are still concentrating on the addiction itself. So when you go to meetings, hey, if you need to go to AA meetings, go. Control that addiction first and then think of the other stuff. But if you're still going to meetings 25 years later, you're still an addict. You've just stopped drinking. For me, when I stopped drinking, it was to be liberated. That's what I felt. That's why I didn't ever feel a need to go to meetings. But I'm not saying don't go to meetings if you need them. Ahmed says, no, I sleep. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, my friend. Thank you for that hard work. You did a great service for a good friend. Alex says, good night to Ahmed. Bejoy, how are you? Says, hello. I'm from the United States on the East Coast in a state called Maryland. How about you, my friend? Ami is here. Ami, how are you? Jay says, where are you from? Ivan, Bejoy is from Bangladesh. We just had a friend say goodnight who is from Bangladesh. Welcome, my friend. I appreciate you being here. We're just going to talk for a few more minutes. Ivan, I'm really happy to hear that you have worked with A Course in Miracles. I have picked it up again. I'm going through it. I'm going to do the lessons for as long as they call to me. Maybe in order, maybe not in order. As well, I'm reading the manual for teachers. As I mentioned, I absolutely love the fact that they say that we teach what we need to learn. It's been a weird time on certain issues in my life. And the two books that have fallen in my hand just seem to perfectly fit. But even better, when I put the books aside, um, and I feel that message coursing through me, that I'm living my life, as I mentioned previously. I am living my life as an expression of the Tao. But Joy says, do you know Bangladesh? Not very, very well. A lot from our friend who was just here. His handle is Night Watcher. And a bit. I know Tagore. And somewhere I had his book here. I don't know what happened to it. I know it has great, great spiritual traditions from Bangladesh. Eric LaPointe says, Bejoy, yes. Hey, Eric LaPointe, have you ever been overseas? Ivan says, the mind is always conceptual, obviously. But how could we empty of it, all concepts, and free our psycho-emotional construction? I don't think we can. But I think it happens on its own. I think we do the things that lead us there, and then there is a surrender that's beyond our control. It's absolute grace. And we can't petition for grace, but we can we can open to it, we can court it, we can invite it in and see how it happens. But I think through the work that we're doing, meditation, through studying A Course in Miracles, to diving into the spiritual texts, practicing yoga, practicing Qigong, energy work, that we begin to hold the conceptual mind lightly. We're not heavily invested in it any longer. And to me, that's enough. Just to hold that stuff lightly. 10% happier, as I've talked about before. Can we reach the state of no mind? That's an interesting thing to talk about. Yes, because we're already there. Can we realize it? Maybe. Some do and some don't. Some great Zen masters, Suzuki Roshi, I believe, he was asked, how come you never addressed this issue? And his wife smiled and says, because he never reached it. And he was considered a great, great Zen master. And some people stumble across it completely by accident and have no idea what it actually is. But it's always there. It's always present. It's the no mind that allows the mind to exist. So this is why I always go back to Douglas Harding and the headless way. If you point in this direction, if you look at the direction that you're pointing at, no mind. No head, no mind. It's the most direct means of self-realization that I know of. You simply point at any object and note, object, it's a desk. And then I point at my leg and I notice my leg is an object as well. I call it my leg, but it's an object. It has its own thickness, its own uniqueness, its own color. I point at my chest. My chest is an object. It's there, has a shirt on. I continue up and I point. I'm looking in this direction. And what do I see? I don't see a finger. If I see a finger, it means I'm looking that way. If I look this way, what do I see? And I see rims of the glasses, a tip of a nose. But where's that coming out of? I don't see anything. I don't see my face. I don't see my head. I'm absolutely headless. And yet, in this nothingness, in this emptiness, in this no mind, the entire world is coming into being. The entire universe is coming into being. It's an aware no thing. I went from nowhere to now here without doing a single thing. No mind is always present. I just need to look and then not make anything. Don't conceptualize. If I see that nothing, I realize conceptions happen completely on their own. I don't need to do anything. I also don't need to dismiss the conceptions because I can always return here. Douglas Harding and the headless experiments changed my life completely. Again, when I did the experiment for the first time over a decade ago, I went from what could be called a spiritual seeker to a spiritual explorer. I had an entire universe to now explore. The energy shifted. I felt absolutely free for the first time in my life. And I got to live it. And I get to continuously live it. Ivan says, yes, ideas come from nothingness. Everything comes from nothingness. And everything remains in nothingness. Nothingness never ends. Nothingness doesn't become form. When they say in the Heart Sutra, emptiness is form, form is emptiness, it's not that emptiness becomes something that it isn't. And it's not that form becomes something that it isn't. It means that emptiness is form right now. And form is emptiness right now. That means we are empty, we are capacity, and we are full all at the same time. Alex, you're one of my all-time favorite people to talk with. You always hit those subjects head on. So, guys, I'm going to head off to sleep. Let's see, Ivan says, Eric, do you have any Harashka experiences? I don't. I have mushroom experiences. I have LSD experiences. I have some other things that I've experienced. I had a very brief encounter with DMT. I didn't lick the toad, but I did do a synthetic version of it, and man, it was powerful. Mocha's here. Mocha says good night. Thanks for being here, Mocha, as always. Eric Point says another great live. Thank you, Eric. Always appreciate you being here. Congratulations on a big day from 150 reps and 150 well-earned subscribers. No channel deserves to grow more, honestly. Duncan Walsh, thank you very much. Again, Ivan, very much appreciated. We had Burpee Reaper and we had Brian. We had some new friends, Bejoy. I Am Jamaican was in the house. Fred was here. Liliana was here. The great Mir Ahmed, who came here and went to work right away. Huge. And Night Watcher. And Bessalina was here. Always appreciated. As well as our friend Babushka. Thank you, guys. There might be some more people here that I missed, and I apologize. Ivan says you have to try. I've talked about it. I've talked about that with Mocha quite a bit. I haven't for a little while. I'd be tempted. Ivan says, have a good night. You too, my friend. And thank you. Take care, everyone. I will see you tomorrow. Same time.